Hi guys, so I just came back from Jakarta about a week ago. I was there for a shoot. No, I was not there for a military shoot. I was there at an event whereby I had to shoot people wearing the hijab. Not really helping it, am I? But yeah, you get the idea. I was there for work. I'm a video producer if you haven't realized. But yeah, so just got back, really nice place, and I decided to share with you some things which I learned or observed during my stay over there, even though I was there for only for 3 days actually. So the first thing I did when I got to Jakarta was actually to go to the toilet. I mean, when nature calls, right? So yes, I went to the toilet, the first thing I did in Jakarta. And I learned one very, very useful thing. Pretty much all of Jakarta, I don't know about Indonesia, but most toilets in Jakarta would come with a bidet or bidet, or whichever way you pronounce it, B-I-D-E-T, or I think there's another name for it, but basically it's a little jet spray which works sort of like a replacement for your toilet paper. So once you're done with your business, you just spray that shit off your shit or something like that. So that's really useful. I mean, I have one at home. It saves I mean, it wastes water, but it saves you the hassle of having to buy toilet paper, and it technically is environmentally friendly because they're only using water. So yes, I mean, once you're done with your stuff, you just go and then it's done. The one thing I like about Jakarta is the fact that everywhere you go, it's there. You can pretty much find it in all the toilets over there, which is good. The bad thing is they don't really regulate the pressure that goes into these jets. Some of them are just nice. It's really comfortable, washes off everything, clean, very nice. But on the other hand, certain places, and this applied to the very first toilet that I went to, which is at the airport, sometimes the pressure is a little bit too strong, to the point that it gets a little bit painful, and in worst cases, it sort of goes up where it's not supposed to go. So that's a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know about you, you might be comfortable with it, but not me. So yeah, that's the first thing I learned about Jakarta. Secondly, I mean, once you get out of the airport, the first thing you do is you start traveling to your destination. In our case, we were traveling to the hotel that we were supposed to stay in, and on the road there, we realized that, I mean, I wouldn't really say it's a realization, it's an expectation. I mean, coming from Singapore, place is clean and green. You travel to places like Thailand, Jakarta, or any other country, you would expect that the place isn't as clean as your little country garden city would be. So looking out the passenger window, you'll see lots of dirt, litter on the floor. Floors aren't exactly very clean. They didn't really sweep the floors and shit like that. So that would be the other observation. But that's it. Dirty is good. I mean it's not good, but dirty is character. I mean, it makes the place look a little bit more alive, more human. I mean, I wouldn't want to live in a place whereby everything's all clean, too clean, to the point that it lacks character. I think places whereby there's a little bit of a crack on the sidewalk, a little bit of dirt, some roots growing out of the floor, I mean, this is what makes a place unique. If everything is a cookie cutter shopping mall or whatsoever it is, it gets boring. There's no point in traveling anywhere anyways. But in the case of Jakarta, it's a nice scenery. I mean, it's a fresh view from your average Singapore life. But yeah, I mean, it's dirty, that's one thing. And then how can you not talk about Jakarta without talking about the famous traffic jams that you get everywhere? I mean, it really is everywhere. Like, I literally was sitting, I remember I was sitting in my colleague's car. She was taking us out to eat, and we were supposed to negotiate this little ban. I mean, it's probably, what, in Singapore you'll probably cross the thing in like 5 seconds, but we were literally there for 50 minutes. I remember I was shooting from inside the car. This little teenager was selling water by the sidewalk to people passing by, because it was during the fasting month and some people wanted clean water to drink or whatsoever it is. So this boy was selling water by the sidewalk, and 15 minutes later I was still shooting him. And because we didn't exactly move much from the van itself, it was still like probably me to the camera, that's the distance that we traveled in the car, because it was so freaking packed. And not to mention, I mean, that with the traffic as it is, I mean, I understand and now understand why people would prefer to take the scooter. I mean, Jakarta is one of those countries whereby the majority of people would rather ride the scooters around the city because you're so freaking congested. But if you think about it, the way that they ride their scooters around, weaving around traffic, takes huge balls. I wouldn't be surprised if the accident rate in Jakarta is much higher than any other countries, because they don't care about cars, they just go woo everywhere. There's a hole, there's a gap, go in, through, and then the other guy will follow or whatsoever it is. But that's about it. I mean, it takes big balls to ride that way. In a sense, I suppose it translates into the food, because I remember I was having what they call it, mee bakso at one of the famous places. And boy, the bakso is so huge. Bakso is basically meatballs, by the way. So the meatballs are so huge, so tough, so flavorful. And I guess it's a little bit like how Indonesian people are in a sense. And I mean, oh yeah, speaking of food, can't go wrong with food in Indonesia. One thing they really love is spicy foods. So they love their chili. One thing I noticed about Indonesian chili, the kind of spice, the kind of heat they love, is the kind that hits you really hard. As I mentioned, there are generally two kinds of spice. There's the one that's gradually spicier as you eat. There's the other kind that hits you immediately. Those belong to the small chili padi, little chili, jalapeno, that kind of stuff. Indonesian spice is closer to that kind. They use a lot of that little orange colored chili peppers, and then you're supposed to eat it raw or use it as a dipping sauce. On the other hand, you got Chinese stuff, which usually infuses the chili into the salt, into the soup and all that. So technically, I prefer that kind. Not so much a fan of biting chili and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's still nice. It's a nice punch, I would say. It keeps you awake. Yeah, sadly, we didn't really get to eat much street food, because of the 3 days that we were there, the shoot's on the second day, so we didn't really eat any street food on the first day, because technically it's for safety precautions. My boss was a little bit afraid that we might get into food poisoning situations and then not be able to make it for the shoot on the second day. But anywho's, did mention to eat some street food on the second night, so that's not bad. In fact, we managed to find the place. I mean, street food is so cheap. We managed to find this little place that sells seafood at really cheap prices. I mean, according to the story that I got from my colleague was that he used to operate a little street side stall, and then he moved into a car park, and then he moved a little bit further away, and now it has a proper stall. It's still cheap. That's the best thing about it. Of all the dishes we had mussels, we had prawns, we had fish, grilled fish, and all that kind of stuff. Only costed us about $5 each. It's so cheap. I mean, if you get that kind of spread in Singapore, it's probably gonna hit you back at least $10 per person. So think about it, make the conversion. It's great. The only thing you need to worry about, cleanliness. That should be a worry only if you've never eaten street food before. For me, I love it. I'm all out for it. In fact, I feel that street food would always be better than restaurant food and that kind of stuff. But yeah, great stuff. Last but not least, in Jakarta, you can forget about getting Coke. What you should be getting instead is teh botol, which is like this local glass bottle drink that you can get almost anywhere. It's not cola, it is something that looks like cola, but it has this little distinct taste that's sort of like milk tea. The strange thing is, it's clear, which means there's no real milk in it. It just tastes like milk tea, although it looks like regular tea. It's kind of strange, but if you're there, you must drink it. It's quite an interesting taste, I must say. I'm not a huge fan of it. I would prefer plain water, but I mean, my friends told me that if I'm in Jakarta, I must spam the teh botol. So that's about it. All in all, Jakarta was enjoyable, I would say. I wouldn't mind coming again. I mean, the thing is so cheap over here. Everything's so enjoyable. Yeah, I wouldn't mind. Then again, I wouldn't mind going anywhere. So that's about it. Been talking for so long. But yeah, that's about it. Hi guys, so I'm back here for just a short while because I just realized that I forgot about one very big thing that I've learned during my stay in Jakarta, and that is the fact that the most popular taxi company in Jakarta is called Bluebird. Lan Niao. Lan Jiao. I'm not even kidding. The company is really called Bluebird. Probably one of the biggest one and one of the more trusted companies. Again, that's it. Always make sure that when you're traveling, taking a taxi, make sure that they operate on meter. Some of the cabs around the world, they like to operate based on this one flat fee sort of thing. And most of the time, I wouldn't say all the time, but most of the time, the price that they quote you are going to be higher than the normal meter rates. So that's it. Again, back to my point. The most popular taxi company in Jakarta is Bluebird, or in Hokkien, Lan Jiao. So yeah, there you have it. The little observations that I've had made during my stay in Jakarta. And by now you would have realized that I never had a script for this.